Hello! What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Now, today I'm going to be showing you guys a game called Roguathia. Um, it's an idle dungeon crawler. Nobody seems to have heard of this game. Like, I couldn't find anything other than the wiki on fandom. So, there's just nothing to go off of, right? No way to figure out how to play the game or anything like that. So yeah, I also just wanted to give this game a little bit of exposure, get more people playing it because it's a good game, and also we need info because the wiki is only like half finished. Nobody knows anything about the game really. um, but yeah, so I guess I'll start by going through this. So obviously the name is just whatever character name is. Gender doesn't really affect your stats at all. All stats in this game run off of dice rolls, meaning there is a system written, and all it does is roll for stats. And different classes have different stat based rolls, so some will have guaranteed better stat rolls than others, and races can give a flat boost the to stats. That's what these traits do as well. So yeah, I don't know what buff does really. Couldn't figure that out. But yeah. So gender, as I've said, doesn't really affect gameplay. I don't think your alignment affects gameplay either. Now, as I've said, race does affect your alignment, so go through the wiki and check through, because some of the races have only negative boosts. Some of them have like weird mix of negative and positive, so you just want to find the one that's best for the class that you plan to lock in. Class here starts off as random, and no matter what, you can't change it until you get a certain upgrade from the SP section over here. It'll come up with like a list of all of the different classes, and you'll be able to lock in a certain class after a point. Same with the races. You won't be able to lock in anything, but what these upgrades do, they say random and then either a class or a race, and this will basically mean that every time your character dies, when a new character is created, there will be a chance for it to be randomly assigned that race or that class. And without any of those upgrades, the only thing you can be is a tourist with like either a gnome or a human. I think are the only two options. And tourist is basically just no class, no buffs, no nothing. So your stat rolls are kind of garbage. So I think it's all like 1d1 or like 1d2 stat rolls. Yeah. Each of the classes, however, have their own special stat rolls. So, like, for example, the wizard, which is the class that I plan to play on this run, has a 1d5 plus 3, I think, a base stat roll, and then every time you level up, you roll for how much more of every stat you're gonna get. You don't manually roll; the system rolls it for you. Yeah. So now that we've gone over race and class, I guess it's time to get into like traits, because color, you do have to buy that upgrade to change the color of your class. It's kind of dumb, but yeah. So one of the first upgrades you're going to get actually is the lesser trait, which basically will just give a +1 stat boost to any of whatever trait you pick. So when you pick a certain class, like think about what class you're gonna play before you pick this, and then look it up on the wiki and look at all its stats, and see like which one does it need a +1 boost for, which one does it need a plus whatever boost for. Yeah. So the lesser trait is just a +1 boost to a specific stat. So for example, I plan to play wizard, so I'm running intelligence because that is its main, or not main, but secondary attack stat. Or no, it is its main attack stat, and it has the highest stat roll, other than mana. So, which would be like its resource, which you can just use whatever resource your class plays. So like, let's say you're running any magic class, then the resource you would be using would be mana. So you would want your utility trait to be mana, because how else are you going to cast spells? But yeah. And then greater trait just gives a larger boost to whatever stat you pick. So like every class has a certain stat that just has really bad stat rolls. Like it'll have like a 1d1 -1 stat roll, meaning it'll roll one die and then subtract 1 off of that, or subtract 2 or whatever. Your greater trait, you want to be that specific stat, like your worst stat, because obviously you gotta sort of counterbalance that. So for your greater trait, obviously you should run whatever best suits your, whatever your lowest thing is. So just to give a quick overview, class will be randomly assigned based on what you have unlocked for the random assignments, until you buy the upgrade to lock in your class. Same thing with race. Pick the ones when you lock them in that are like whatever class you pick the best suited race, or the one with the best stats for that class. When you get the chance to lock it in, your lesser trait should be your main attack stat. Your greater trait should be your worst roll stat, and your utility trait should be whatever resource your class uses. All of these will show up here. The more SP you get from scores, every time you die, you just respawn at floor 1 of the dungeon and rerun, and your class will just respawn again and again. Or your character, I meant, will just respawn again and again, and go as far as it can, and then it'll die. And eventually you'll slowly build up these upgrades, which will allow you to pick, or to specify what you want, and then KP is like kill stuff, and then the more stuff you kill, the more you can like upgrade the monsters. So like you can make more monsters spawn, and you can make them stronger, which in turn will give you more XP. Obviously, the more you kill, the more XP you get. Yeah. And then this is like victory, so you get upgrades to the total dungeons. So like you get upgrades to each floor of the dungeon based on how many times you've successfully cleared the entire thing. Yeah. You can only have one trait locked in per slot. So if you were to buy two lesser traits, you can't have two lesser traits locked in. You'll have to just pick one here. And that goes with all of these. You can only have one thing locked in for each thing. Except for your name. You can just change the name whenever you want. And every time you make a change after the current character dies, then when the next character spawns, um, it'll have the change applied. Um, for your random class and race, I recommend picking developer. Has the best stat rolls overall out of every class. So I would recommend picking that for the random one so that you can get as far through the dungeon as you can. Obviously, when you lock in your class, it won't, like, your random one won't matter because you won't get it anymore. You're just guaranteed the class you locked in. And I wouldn't recommend picking, unless you want to play developer. But your upgrades and your items that you get will be guaranteed, or will boost your class anyway, and you'll be buying upgrades specifically for that class, so it won't matter what class you pick anyway, because it'll be just as strong as if you were to or you were to get random developer or whatever boosts you have. Yeah, it'll get stronger on its own, just the more upgrades you buy specifically for that class. So pick whatever class you want. But then for the random race, I recommend picking the Lizard Man because he has the best stat rolls for for the developer. So if you get lucky and you spawn a whatever Lizard Man developer, it'll be really powerful because lizard men have a high dexterity boost, meaning, and that's what the attack stat for or the main stat for the developer is. So obviously, if you spawn with both, just randomly, then cool, you win pretty much. You do really good in the dungeon, get pretty far. Yeah, it doesn't happen very often, and even once you buy a random class, you're not guaranteed to spawn with a class. So you could buy all of these and you still have the chance to spawn as a tourist. You could buy all the races and still just have the chance to spawn a default whatever, right? But once you lock it in, you're guaranteed that, so you don't have any chance to spawn with the default stuff. And I'm pretty sure you can get more members to your party later on in the game. I'm not sure. I haven't gotten that far. I just wanted to make a video on this game just because nobody seems to have heard of it, and I wanted to get it out there, get it out in the ether. Yeah. Anyway, that'll be all for today. I appreciate your time watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, please subscribe and request what game you want to see next. And I can probably do it. If you want to see a guide or just want to see gameplay, you want to see a walkthrough, I'll do whatever really. I just want to play games and record it. I have fun with that. So yeah, if you like this video and want to see more like it, please subscribe. If you just like this video in general, leave a like on it. Yeah, feel free to comment any questions you have, and I will do my best to answer them. But that's all for today. I'll see you.